Off the Cuff with Mark Scott. I'm your host on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Tonight, we have a special guest, a really good friend of mine, and just a phenomenal musician and songwriter, producer. I mean, he does pretty much everything you might want to know about in the entertainment industry. But before we get started, again, I'd like to congratulate all the Pisces in March birthdays. If you want to call in or send us a email or a message, a comment, and give us your birthday that's coming up, then we will announce it on the air. I myself am a Piscean. My birthday is the 12th, so when I get back for my next show, I will be celebrating my birthday on March the 12th. Again, this is Off the Cuff, and I'm your host, Mark Scott. And tonight we have Drew Schultz. Drew is like I said, he's a phenomenal individual, just the nicest person you ever want to meet. Really good friend of mine, and we're going to let you find out who he is and get down and personal with Drew Schultz tonight. So, welcome, Drew.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Mr. Scott and WJZZ. I can't believe I get to say that. Cannot believe I get to
Yeah,
say
well, hey man, it's a pleasure to have you here. Give me this love, bro.
You got it.
All
man.
right now, this is me and Drew go back a little ways. I'm gonna let him tell his story, and then he's going to connect with you guys tonight. Drew, wow, we talked earlier before we came in, and let's start back when let's bring it up. I do this with all my guests. Um, Tell the people how you started in the industry. Let's start with how did you start playing the drums? I mean, how did that happen?
Yeah. So I was fortunate to be in a musical family.
Uh-huh.
My grandmother was a piano teacher professionally,
stop.
opera singer,
Okay.
classically trained, whole 9 yards.
Oh.
And my mom was a music major in college who, the story she would tell us, she got her degree in piano and voice accompaniment and then got out of college and had no idea how to make a living in music. So she went to law school.
Okay.
Right? And so she never stopped doing music. My dad was a guitar player. He was in a band that opened for the Love and Spoonful. And he also didn't do it professionally after his kind of younger years.
Uh-huh.
And this is in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
And so, yeah, my real start with it was my parents never stopped, even though they didn't do it professionally. And I would watch my mom's band practice in our basement, and they would play local gigs.
Hey, what part of Cleveland?
Shaker Heights.
Shaker.
Okay,
Heights.
yeah.
All right. You know, my grandmother lived in Cleveland, my uncle, and they raised me all the way up till I was like in elementary school.
Oh man.
Yeah. So
Right in that area?
Yeah.
Oh,
in
crazy.
Shaker Heights, I used to go. Oh man.
My wife is she's gonna explode. She's like, everybody's from Ohio, and I'm like,
Yeah.
seems like it sometimes. Yeah.
Well, I have a real connection. I was born and raised in Flint, but I have a real connection, so I love to hear about Cleveland.
That's
I
amazing.
really do.
Yeah. So we grew up right on kind of. There's an area called Fairmont Circle, and it's on the border of Cleveland Heights, Shaker Heights, University Heights. That area by like John Carroll University.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I grew up, and So yeah, I would watch my mom's band rehearse in the basement, and yeah, I was like a science fiction nerd. Still am.
Uh-huh.
You know, Star Trek,
Me
Star
too.
Wars.
Me too.
I like all of it.
Me too, Drew.
And I would watch them rehearse, and something about the drums reminded me of like a spaceship or something. It was technology. It felt
Sure.
intricate, and all these different connecting stands and pieces that you could tune, and I was just fascinated by the drums themselves. So that's how I started. I just would mess around on my mom's drum kit. They got me lessons in like third grade, which would allow me to then go into band at the youngest age possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I went all the way through the Shaker Public Schools band program, choir, orchestra. They had a gospel choir. They had a musical theater program, and I just played in everything I possibly could
Okay.
in and around Cleveland. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so that's how I got into it.
Fascinating, man. Fascinating.
You know, I'm grateful though. I feel like the music program track is something that you hear so many people talk about, especially in Michigan with Cass Tech, with Renaissance, with, you know, DPS had such a history of music education, and you know, I want to see that continue for everybody.
Sure.
It's like a story that shouldn't be fascinating. You know,
Yeah.
it should be common. That's my opinion on it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So as a kid, you took private lessons and that sort of thing. You had
Oh, yeah.
formal training
I did. Yeah.
in the drums and so forth. But I remember working with you, and you actually, and I know that a piano is a percussion instrument.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't understand that,
Right.
that aspect, but it is and same thing with the vibraphones and,
Right.
and things of that
Right.
nature. So you do have knowledge of chords and notes and things of that nature.
Yeah.
But you play the piano in your studio. Talk to me about that.
You know, because my grandma was a piano teacher,
There you
I
go.
took piano lessons from her.
Oh.
And from my mom, and went to college for music. Had to keep playing piano, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, like you said, I know my chords, I know my scales, I know my notes. I understand the theory of
Okay.
extensions and motif
Sure.
and intervals and all that good stuff.
Oh, man, listen up.
But-
You
right.
learned some stuff here today.
But you'll never see me on a gig playing piano.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not that good.
Ah,
But
you sound like me.
you know, well, I know you produce and engineer and write as well, and it's like having the building block knowledge
Sure.
combined with the
Foundation.
technology allows you to build these things that can be, you know, fully complete with the full arrangement. Nowadays you have a laptop and you can get drums, bass, and guitar, and keys, and strings, and horns, and percussion.
Nothing like the real thing, though.
Nothing like the real thing. But you can at
Like
least
somebody like you.
I appreciate that. But even what I'm doing in the box, it's like a sketch that I can then give to a musician to re-record and do the real thing.
Sure, sure.
So for my own music, you know, it's rare that you'll find the synthesized stuff on there.
Sure.
But for my demos, I'll play all of it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how is it? How do you put your music together with lyrics and that sort of thing? How do you
Yeah.
write your songs?
You know,
Where they come from?
when I was in middle school, I think it would have been 2001, I saw Standing in the Shadows of Motown, the documentary about the Funk Brothers. And anybody who's watching who doesn't know, the Funk Brothers were the band that played all the instruments on all the Motown hits, all the artists, all those classic Detroit records. It's the same group of musicians. And this documentary about these musicians opened my eyes to the kind of puzzle piece arranging of these simple patterns that when you put them all together create this interwoven sound, this completed picture. And I was really into that. And that movie and the soundtrack to it, where they started deconstructing it, you can hear just the drums, just the guitar, just the strings, just the keys, whatever it might be, just James Jamerson's bass lines. It opened my ears to be able to hear other songs like that and pick out the individual pieces. And so I'm not going to lie, as a songwriter, a lot of times I'm thinking about those interlocking parts right away, and thinking about, you know, it is kind of a pastiche work of like, I want to emulate the emotion of a song that I love. And so I'll go in and I'll say, not the notes specifically, I'm not taking anybody's notes, not taking anybody's lyrics, but what are the devices being used? So for example, are the drums a simple, you know, boom, cut, or are they more syncopated, like James Brown with like a boom, cut, like that's a very different scale, and every instrument has its scale of, is it high pitch, is it low pitch, is it fast, is it slow, long notes, short notes, loud, quiet, simple, syncopated, um, rising melody, falling melody, large range from the highest note to the lowest note versus a narrow range.
Mhm.
And so I'll think in those terms and try and use those devices to capture emotion. And then a lot of times it then is, okay, what's the story that this is reminding me of? How can I grab lyrics to tell that story? And I'm rambling. I could go
No,
on.
no,
I
no.
could
Go ahead.
on and on.
No, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. You know, because what you are getting now is information on how to break it down and put it together. This is Drew. This is what Drew does. I'm loving this. I'm sitting back and I'm learning. I'm learning myself.
Oh,
right now.
come on.
Yeah,
well,
of course.
It's
go ahead.
That scale that I'm talking about of like the opposites. The same is true for lyrics. You know, are your lyrics direct and to the point, or are they vague where it's not specifically telling you the story, so it leaves room for the listener to paint their own picture?
Of course.
Are the lyrics, is it a lot of words or very few words? The rhyme scheme, is it a simple A, B, A, B, or is it more complicated where you've got rhymes that are unexpected that carry over from stanzas? Are you using a lot of metaphor and imagery and simile, or are you being very direct and just laying it all out? And all of those spectrums combine for me as a songwriter to be tools that I can draw from.
Okay.
And so I love the craft of songwriting, and I respect songwriters who are like, I only write from my heart and soul. And I've got some songs that are like that, but I also love the challenge of like, I'm going to write a song from the perspective of something completely different that's not like what I normally do, and can I find those devices and those scale balancing acts to hopefully hit the bullseye on that goal.
You know, sometimes when I write, I'll reach out and grab somebody else's experience in life.
Yes.
And expound on it.
Yes.
Did you do that?
Oh yes, yeah. I wrote a song for the most recent project I released that featured Miss Carolyn Crawford. Carolyn is.
Oh yeah, I know Carolyn.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Of course.
For all the listeners out there, Carolyn, she was signed to Motown Records when she was like 13 or 14. Wrote her own songs. Went on to do a bunch of disco hits with Bohannon, and she's got her own just a brand new single that came out on Wjzz Cool Records. She's killing it. Carolyn's amazing.
Oh,
she was just featured in Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring her in.
Carolyn is the best.
I got to. Carolyn, if you're watching the show, call me, babe. Call me. We got to do this.
And Carolyn is like, she is not afraid to tell you what she thinks.
Of course.
She is, she is
Authentic.
unabashed. She's authentic, yes. And I wrote a song, and I was specifically like, as an exercise, I'm going to write a song from the female perspective.
Okay.
And I was like, I want to write a song specifically for Carolyn, and because I love her voice, and Carolyn has a powerful voice. She can, she can throw down.
No question.
And so I wanted to write a song that would fit her vocal capabilities. And so I'm thinking about a fictional story of somebody who's telling it like it is and saying it's strong. So the story I wrote was from a female perspective, and she's tired of getting hit on. And the lyrics were like, I'm a wet blanket, baby. I'm the rain on your parade. You're asking for a good time. Well, I can't be any aid. You want one night of fun, go find someone else. You're asking for a good time. I can't be any help because I need a friend right now, not the means to an end right now. I need a long-term plan, not some short-term man. And Carolyn,
Okay, don't get too much.
Right.
We don't want nobody rewriting your song.
Oh, it's out there. You can find it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's out there.
What's the name of it?
That song is called Long-Term Plan, featuring Carolyn Crawford. It is on Back to Class Volume 2, which just came out last September.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, it's out there and done. And Carolyn sang the mess out of that song. She sounds so good on it.
I'm going to stop you. We're going to come right back to that because I really want to know about that.
Yeah.
I really do. That's a fascinating story that you're about to tell. And then we got so many other things we need to talk about.
Oh, man.
Too. Okay, so we're going to do station ID. welcome to Off the Cuff with Mark Scott. We got Drew Schultz, who's our guest tonight on WJZZ Cool TV, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and other top social media platforms. So join us every Tuesday from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And follow us, like us, share, leave a comment. We wanna know what you think. We wanna know how you feel, and what you want to see on this show. And then share us, and then subscribe to WJZZ Cool TV to get all the interviews and episodes that are streamed live again worldwide on WJZZ Cool TV. So the coolest station in the world. All right.
I second that.
All right. I'm glad to be a part of this fascinating legacy, WJZZ.
Yes.
But go ahead with Carol and talk about that project. I did not know.
Yeah.
I did not know that you had done some recordings with her. Go ahead.
She's wonderful.
See, I told you this brother was he's a drummer. But he's a drummer, musician, producer, songwriter, engineer. I mean, he just does everything. So talk to your camera. They want get personal with them, baby.
Gotcha.
There you go.
Well, I'm fortunate, thankful, just like Mark said, to even to be able to be a footnote in the legacy of some of the artists who I love. Been fortunate to tour and play and record and write with the Four Tops, with a lot of members of the Funk Brothers, with Mr. Mark Scott of Miracles, with members of Joe Pap Harris of Undisputed Truth, and Ken Knox of Chairman of the Board.
You did some stuff with Joe?
Oh yes. I love Joe.
And
Brenda, and Daisy and Jackie, and that whole crew is amazing.
Yeah.
Melvin Davis, Spider Turner, Pat Lewis, Billy Prince of the Precisions, Buddy Smith.
Look at this.
But these are people who I'm thankful to be involved with.
Mm-hmm.
And
we were talking on the phone, and I told you that the Impressions.
Yes.
You invited me to an event.
Yes.
I can't remember where it was. Somewhere here in Detroit.
Yes.
And it was the first time I had an opportunity to meet those guys. The
Yes.
Impressions. If I could, I'd like to reconnect with them. But go ahead. I mean, tell us about. I mean, this brother has been with just about any and everybody you might want to think about. Legendary people. So, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, that was specifically with Reggie Torian, who was the lead singer of the Impressions for decades. But the project stemmed from, again, I'm a teacher as well, and I truly believe in public school music education and having it be a part of programs that families should not have to pay extra for. I would love to see every public school have a music program. So the Back to Class series is a series of my own compositions.
Now, Back to Class,
recordings.
is that a project that you are the leader of?
Yes.
You implemented this project?
Yes.
Go ahead and tell us about that.
So it started in 2012 because I was stepping away from touring with the Four Tops.
Mm-hmm.
I was going back to school myself to finish my college degree.
Mm-hmm.
And 50% of the profits from the recordings benefit the music programs of the Detroit Public Schools. I did do a series for Chicago, which had Reggie Torian from the Impressions as the singer, and that's why he was in Detroit for that specific event.
That's the project that I was involved with.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And so in 2014, I think, you and I did the song Fairy Tale.
Fairy Tale.
Which was part of that project. And the second album just came out in September. It does have some previously released songs. Fairy Tale was a part of it. The songs with Reggie from the Impressions were a part of it. And then I think 13 new songs, something like that.
Did you write these songs or you produced them? I know.
Yes, they're all songs that I wrote, produced, arranged, recorded,
co-mixed.
co-mixed. Some of the mixing was Steve Adams as well as Andrew Lavanos were two people who helped me with the mixing, mastering by Kevin Reeves and Andrew Lavanos. But yeah, for the most part, completely self-written, arranged, produced, even
Oh, but you got some
engineered.
people with some serious skills involved with it, so yeah.
Well, music education is something that's near and dear to so many people's hearts.
Sure.
And it's one of those things where, as an entirely self driven project where I am the artist, but I'm also the label, I'm also the person trying to promote it, it's always a bit difficult to.
What's the name of your label?
My label is Pax Productions.
Okay.
Yeah, which is my dad's dog's name.
Pax.
Pax. Yeah.
Okay. All right,
Pax.
all right,
Yeah.
all right.
And I've only used it for my own releases.
Yeah.
But, the goal is, with the Back to Class project, I now am able to represent a library of something like 30 songs.
Mhm.
And my hope is to be able to pitch these songs for synchronization license placement in film, television commercials, video games, fill in the blank,
Mhm.
and then allow 50% of that placement fee to be donated to the DPS music programs by the company who's creating the media. So, for example, let's pretend Ford wants to use a song for a commercial. Ford can make the 50% donation. If I have a sync fee of fill in the blank, they pay me half, which then gets distributed to the artists who are on the project. The other half goes to the DPS programs donated by Ford. So Ford gets the tax write-off for the donation. So the goal is it's a win for Ford because they're supporting the schools. It's a win for the artists on the project because the project is fulfilling its goal of raising money for the schools and hopefully making people who are on the project some money. And it'll help me to continue to create more within the series someday. So that's the goal. But, easier said than done.
Well, always,
But that's the
always.
goal.
Anything worthwhile,
Yeah.
you have to work at it. It takes time.
Right.
But I'm sure that the children, particularly the younger, in the junior high, elementary, or whatever, DPS for sure, and Chicago, or any other city that might be able to benefit from what you're doing. I think it's a worthwhile endeavor, man. And
Thank you.
And you have you always, well, you already know you have my support.
Oh, well, thank you.
Across the board.
We were able, at a Four Top show, we donated $1,000 to the schools. We raised something close to $1,500 at that event with Reggie from the Impressions. I had a sync placement for an ad for the Detroit A Go-Go Festival that raised a couple hundred for the schools. And the project hasn't broken even yet. It's one of those things where it's also self-released, self-composed, and self-funded. It's been, but it's one of those things where the infrastructure is there. Where if one of these songs gets placed in a major thing, all of a sudden it could do some real good for the schools.
Sure, and that's the whole point. So, like right now on WJZZ Off the Cuff with Drew Schultz, we are asking all of you corporate leaders out there to get involved with what's your website again?
The website is drew-music.com.
drew-music.com.
Yeah.
Come on, Detroit corporate. Let's get involved. I mean, this is going to help next generation of musicians and the arts.
Yeah, that's the goal.
So DIA, General Motors, Chrysler, Ford, Bank of America.
Yeah.
All of those institutions that can help. Here's your avenue. Drew Schultz, and your website again is
drew-music.com. And thank you for that.
All right. See, that's what it's all about, right there.
Thank you. Mark.
But I'm very familiar with what you do for the community schools in both Chicago. I was talking to Roger about that, and I told him that you do stuff like what you were just explaining, and defining for both in Chicago and Illinois and Michigan.
Yes.
And that's my goal, is to make people aware that there are people like yourself that are doing incredible things that don't have to. I mean, it's you got other things you could be doing, absolutely, and but your heart, and your endeavor is focused on something very meaningful and very worthwhile. And I just want to shine
Thank
a
you,
light
man.
on it, man. And
Thank you.
I think you're a light, a shining
Oh,
light
shoot.
for the city.
Thank you, man.
So now, when I met you, we're going to talk about the Four Tops a little bit. I got to get Roki.
Love the tops. Yeah,
I
yeah.
got to get Roki in here.
Come on, Roki.
Roki.
Come on, Roki.
Roki. I ain't forgot about you, bro. But that's how I met you.
Yes, I'm glad you reminded me of this because I had forgotten that we met in 2009 at the Motor City Casino soundboard. Herb Strather had done an event for his Motor City Hits label and series of releases, and it was the Tops, the Miracles, the Contours, the Vandellas, the Dramatics. I'm trying to remember who else was on that show. Frida Payne, Mary Wilson, and everybody used the Four Tops band for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been the drummer for the Four Tops for less than like a month at that time.
Is that right?
And I was terrified. I was terrified that show. And I'm glad you're still willing to talk to me because I bet I put my foot in my mouth at that show so many times. I remember L.J. Reynolds from the Dramatics. We were playing What You See Is What You Get. And, the original version is it's like dun 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 dun, and so we're doing that, and that's what's on the chart that was written out. And LJ stops the band and stops everybody. He says, "No, I want it. I want you to play it on the cymbal." And I'm, okay, cool. So dun 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 dun. He stops the band again. He's like, "No, I want you to play it faster." And I said, "Okay." So dun dun dun. And he stops the band again. He's like, "No, just play the cymbal faster." And I was like, my brain like broke for a second, and I'm like, and LJ is so talented. He's a keyboard player, bass player, drummer, singer,
Without
songwriter,
question.
arranger.
Without
LJ is one of
question.
those guys.
Absolutely.
So LJ's like, let me show you what I want, and he sits down and plays it. And he wanted straight 16th notes on the bell of a ride, just ting 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 ting, like a, and he didn't really want the tempo faster. He just wanted that real driving thing, and that's my biggest memory of that is L.J. Reynolds getting me up off the kit and being like, let me show you what I want. And, everybody was so nice at that show, though, putting up with me. I was shaking in my boots that whole show. But that is when we met, was that gig.
I remember that. I remember that event. I remember that event. We're going to get back to that, Drew.
Yeah.
We're going to get back to that. And we're going to move on. But this brother's got so much stuff to talk about. We had a lot of fun, though, back then, didn't we?
Oh, man, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we did it again at the Fox for the Ron Banks tribute. We were playing together for that. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna take a pause. I got to do another
Yeah.
ID.
Yeah.
But we're gonna get to the. It was another show that we did. I always have a problem remembering this. But anyway, welcome again. We're gonna take a little ID. This is Wjzz Cool TV streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, X. I say Twitter all the time, but it's X
It's
now,
still Twitter
right?
to me, yeah.
All right, so this is Off the Cuff. I'm your host, Mark Scott, and we have Drew Schultz as our guest tonight. So tune in every Tuesday from 7 to 8. And we stream live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. So follow us, leave a message, share us, and then subscribe to Wjzz Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. So back to Drew Schultz.
Oh, man.
All right. I remember I never can remember this club, this place. There's a theater over there by Cass Tech.
By Cass. Was it the Detroit Institute of Music
No.
Education?
It's I had Locke in here. You know Locke, right?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I love Locke. Yeah.
I had Locke in
Talk
here.
about also drummers, singers. Yeah, love Locke.
And neither one of us could remember this theater. It's a God, I can't remember. It'll come to me. But anyway, we did this thing, and everybody was there. Temptations was there. It was during the Super Bowl year.
Oh, the Gem Theater.
No, wasn't
No, because I know the
no.
Tops did that one for the Super Bowl with Kimmel.
No, we were down. We were down in front of the Ford Field
Okay,
performing for that.
okay.
I remember that because Smokey came over and stood in front of me while I was singing. You know, but during that time, they filmed it, and Herb Strathers was involved with that as well.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
I'm gonna get you in here too, Herb. Um, but I remember that event. Um, were you a part of that?
I don't remember. I don't recall doing a Super Bowl show.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, it wasn't a Super Bowl
wasn't the
show. It
Super
was during
Bowl.
that year.
Oh man, it might have been before my time even.
Mm.
Yeah, because I can't recall that one. I know that we did
I
the
think I
Fox
had.
together. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think I had. I was with the Miracles for a good little while
Yes. Oh
during
yeah.
that time. Can't re, you know, man. There's so many
Yeah.
things I can't remember everything.
Yeah, for sure.
But go ahead and tell me about this project with Carolyn.
Yeah, so she's part of that second volume of the Back to Class. So that's what it is. Nobody wants to hear me sing, and so I'll write these songs
Oh, he
that
can sing
feature
too.
other voices. Well,
He can sing
I
too.
I appreciate
I
that.
heard him do some high notes that I could not do, and and
Yeah,
you
right.
remember
Yeah,
that?
right.
Yeah, I was like, no, we have to get a girl to do that one.
Was that with Joan? Was that with at that
No,
rehearsal?
no. That
Okay.
was one of the other members I had. Melissa came in with me.
Oh
Remember?
yeah, in the studio. Yeah, she did great on that.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
She
yeah, she was wonderful.
did.
Yes. Now, so Carolyn's part of the Back to Class project. So the idea is I'll write songs featuring singers. Thank you, Mr. Scott, for being a part of it. But the Four Tops have sang songs on the project. Melvin Davis, Spider Turner, Pat Lewis, Carolyn was part of it. So yeah, it really is like a kind of diverse library of songs. And the second album especially slides between classic R&B and Motown and some more trying to sound like Stax and Southern soul stuff.
Oh, okay.
Some very traditional jazz. We had Joe Messina from the Funk Brothers. I was thrilled to have him on the project, but Joe was a jazz fan, even more so than Motown. Motown was kind of like his day job in a lot of ways with the Funk Brothers, but he loved straight ahead jazz. So I wrote a song trying to be straight ahead jazz to have him play guitar on. Same thing, Tommy Good was a Motown artist in the 60s, and Tommy is first of all, just a wonderful human being, but he's a big jazz fan. He is like the kind of Metro Detroit, Michigan version of Frank Sinatra almost when he wants to be, even though he's thought of in that Northern Soul Motown thing. So I wrote a song trying to sound like a Frank Sinatra standard for Tommy to sing. So yeah, it's very trying to be chameleon-esque with the genres that it slides in and out of.
So you've been involved with a lot of different styles of music.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I went to school for jazz, so I got a degree in jazz performance. And it is my opinion that if you're trying to make a living in the arts, you either get lucky or you get versatile. And I always was like, I'm not gonna roll the dice and expect the luck. So I'm gonna get versatile and I'm gonna learn how to play anything that I possibly can. And yeah, I was fortunate enough to do. I've been on tracks with The Game, the rapper. I've been on tracks with. I'm trying to remember his name. He's a guitarist out of Brazil who does like kind of shred rock stuff. He's great. Done stuff with the Detroit Cobras, which is like punk rock. Done stuff with folk artists in and around Detroit, like Emily Rose and Audrey Kubat and Anthony Retka. This is kind of more singer-songwriter stuff. I'll get in however I can.
Get in where you
Get
can.
in where I fit in. Yeah.
Yeah.
However I can.
Okay.
Yeah. And, there's always so much more to learn and always more to learn from every possible outlet, not just the stuff that I love. Because when I go home, what I put on my stereo is classic Motown soul, Groovesville records and D-Town and Wheelsville and all that I love that '60s soul stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not going to say no to producing a country record.
Oh no.
You know, it's whatever I can do, um, and I enjoy it. You know.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
do it well, and
Ah, thank you.
you do it very well.
Thank you. I
You do it-
try.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So now, if we come all the way around, and we come, I know you're doing the thing with Carol. Who else have you recorded and done something with other than Carol?
Yes. So
I know you have.
yeah. So um, the Back to Class Volume 1 had two songs that the Four Tops sang,
Mm-hmm.
two songs that Melvin Davis sang.
Mm-hmm.
Pat Lewis was on one of those songs. Spider Turner was on one. Joey Kingfish, who was a guitarist, blues artist,
Okay.
he's no longer with us, sadly, but he was on one of the songs. Um, Kyle Allen, he was signed to Otis Williams' label.
Mm-hmm.
A young guy, he's amazing. Chris Ames and the Funk Machine, which was a group from New York that I've been best friends with for years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then you and I did the singles. Reggie Torian and I did the two singles. Thornetta Davis and Buddy Smith did a single with me. The second album has Joe Pep Harris from Undisputed Truth. It's got Ken Knox from Chairman of the Board is on the first album. Harrison Kennedy from Chairman of the Board is on the second album. He's an original member. Yes, I'm trying to think. Shame on me. Wayne Kramer from MC5 from the rock band.
Mm-hmm.
We just lost him, which was a shocker. He's on the second album. Dennis Coffey, Eddie Willis, Joe Messina, Jack Ashford was on the first one along with Uriel Jones. Jack, yeah. I love Jack, man.
I do too. I do too. Jack, I'll be calling you.
I'm trying. Again, shame on me. Antoine Stanley, who is a singer songwriter out of the Flint area, who's deeply involved with Wolfpack. They're like a massive new, funk, soul, R&B
Sure.
outfit. Yeah, and then as a freelance artist, I was a part of Billy Davis and Marilyn McCoo's Blackbird record that they did, which was covers of Lennon and McCartney songs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then
all of these are on this.
Not Billy and Marilyn. I was on their record.
Right.
But everybody else was on the second.
Was on this second.
Yes.
For the DPS.
Between the first and the second.
Okay.
Yeah. The Fantastic Four, Al Kent. I know you had Eddie Hughes in here.
I did.
Yeah, I love Eddie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned Carolyn. Tommy, I mentioned Tommy Good. Yeah, it's been such a joy, and then all the while I've also been teaching I was teaching with the Detroit Institute of Music Education, teaching college courses for years.
Okay. You're still doing that now?
I'm teaching now with Oakland University.
Oakland University,
mhm.
okay.
And they are...
so your students are watching you on every
Yeah, and I've taught for the Motown Museum summer camps. I did a mentorship program.
Oh, that's right.
DPS.
That's right.
Yeah, I was teaching with DPS with the Ramp Up program that Rick Sperling put together, and the Diamond DSA program. So I was teaching after school at DSA. I did something for Brenda Scott Middle School, for Spain Elementary School, and then teaching my own private lessons. And yeah, and
So what exactly is your involvement down at the Motown Museum?
Recently,
that's with Robin and.
Yes, Robin Terry. She's wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yes, Robin is the best. And so I have recently joined the Motown Museum as a digital media curator.
Okay.
And so I've been doing that now since November. But the Motown Museum is like a gem of programming in Detroit, which I think a lot of people don't realize. And it's been growing and getting bigger and bigger. But they do a vocal competition called Amplify every year. They do a spoken word poetry competition. They do a summer camp for high schoolers, a summer camp for middle school age students. They do a music industry mentorship program for students who are looking to get into the industry that leads to a large scholarship. It's in partnership with Universal Records. They do so much. They have a plaza now out front where they host activities all summer. And so, I've just been so thankful to the museum to have been allowed to be a part of those programs
Sure,
because
sure.
they're giving back to the community as well.
Uh-huh.
That they've been just continuing to expand in that programming space and opening up to the city of Detroit way more than just being a museum.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying any of this as the Motown Museum. This is me. I just love to see it happening. And hopefully it continues to grow and spark others to do the
Well,
same.
it's a tremendous legacy.
Yes.
So anything that I love plugging the Motown Museum
Yes.
because I want my listeners, I want all of you guys to know and go down there and see what's going on. It really has expanded
Yes.
a lot over the last maybe I say 5 or 10 years from where from just being a museum to being an actual contribution to the community. So I'm proud to have been associated with that. My indoctrination came through Esther Gordy, who welcomed me. That's it made me feel part of the legacy.
Yes.
That came through Esther, and I really appreciate that. But I'm gonna take a second. I'm gonna do another thing. We got a few more minutes.
Oh, go for it. Go for
and
it.
and wow, I mean, I could talk to Drew. I could talk to Drew.
I know. I feel
forever,
like I'm ping-ponging over here.
forever. Because the man is really involved in the community, and in a lot of ways, not just as a teacher, but as a musician and an inspiration.
Oh, thank you.
So I mean, that's just me. I can't help
Shoot.
it. I can't help it.
Right back at you.
But you're watching Off the Cuff on Wjzz Cool TV. We're streaming live worldwide on YouTube, Facebook, X, Twitch, and all top social media platforms. So share us, like us, subscribe to Wjzz Cool TV, and get all of the fascinating stories about people in the city of Detroit and around the country. As you know, we did Don Diego from Texas. I mean, we're going to be bringing in people from everywhere. Anybody having something to do with making a meaningful contribution to the music or entertainment industry. I'm going to try my best to bring them in here. All my friends and people that I know that are really making a serious contribution to entertainment. So subscribe and leave a comment and share us. So thank you for watching Wjzz Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Okay. Now, Drew. Man, Motown Museum, you're down there, you're teaching, you're Professor Drew Schultz. I've always enjoyed working with you.
Oh,
I mean, you just, just one of those people that, you enjoy being connected with. You enjoy, anytime I meet you, I run into you. We did, I think it was, what's that brother's name that, we were at his birthday party, and you were there. It was a surprise birthday party for one of the promoters or arrangers for Motown.
Oh, for Paul Reiser.
Paul Reiser.
Yeah.
Paul's
Reiser. The best.
Paul
yes,
is.
we love Paul.
Yeah. So did you ever do any work with Paul?
Only through the Motown Museum. I mean, well, and through Dime. I forgot. I hosted a masterclass with Paul at the Detroit Institute of Music Education for the college students there, and we dove deep into his arranging techniques that he used on all these Motown songs and beyond. His work with Motown, with Luther Vandross, with Raphael Sadiq. Paul is Kem. He just did the album with Kem. Paul is a genius when it comes to orchestration, arrangement.
Sure.
It blew me away because Paul can sit there with just a pencil and paper and write out an arrangement. and he doesn't need a keyboard. He doesn't need anything to hear it. He can hear in his head. He knows those intervals so well that in his head he's just going da da. Okay, that was a fourth, and he doesn't even need to do what I just did and sing it. He just hears it and does it. It's unbelievable.
Well, you've been doing it as long as Paul's been doing it.
Right.
It's almost like breathing.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's almost like breathing. Him and McKinley.
McKinley Jackson's the same way. Yes, yes. McKinley is on the second album too. Yeah, McKinley's the man.
Yeah.
And you know, I feel like it's such a cheesy thing to say, but I truly am a music fan first, and I go back to that Standing in the Shadows of Motown documentary, and I think about watching those moments where they got the Funk Brothers back together in the studio for the first time after all these years, and they're telling stories about, you know, looking out for each other during hard times, you know, about supporting each other through the ups and downs of the industry, the ups and downs of each other's personal lives, you know, the personal demons that people can face in their day-to-day lives regardless of the entertainment industry. And to see the camaraderie that was there was inspiring to me, and made me kind of want to surround myself with people who had that longevity, that longevity of relationship with each other, which is why I find myself inspired by not just the people who made the hit records. Like, don't get me wrong, I love David Ruffin's voice, but you got to remember David Ruffin was only with the Temptations for what, 4 or 5 years? Where Ron Tyson has been with the Temptations since 1983. And that to me speaks to more than just music. It speaks to character, it speaks to friendship, it speaks to, and I found myself looking up to people like that. You know, you toured with the Miracles for so long, and the Four Tops staying together literally until physical health stopped them from doing so.
Right.
That kind of stuff is just super inspiring to me.
Yeah, it is.
And you know, there was something about the genre of music as well. And I understand, don't get me wrong, you know, that there are social aspects to it of you're talking about a segregated society at a time in our country when you had to play it safe in order to sell records. But the byproduct of that is an image that is wholesome, that is classy, that is, you know, speaks to values beyond just chasing tail and having fun. Not that there aren't plenty of songs about that. that you know, came out of that era. There's tons of songs about it. But it was like I found that inspiration and wanted to surround myself with it, and that's what drew me to Detroit. You know, I went to school in New York, but when the opportunity to move to Detroit and join the Tops and be a part of that world opened up, I just never looked back. You know.
Well, just like every show that I do, my guests are so fascinating that we could talk and talk and talk and just cover a whole gambit of areas. You know what I'm saying? But hey, man, thanks for coming through.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
You got it.
I really
man.
do. Much love and luck on your thing. Now, tell me again before we run out. We're running. We got about a minute.
You got it.
Tell me your website again.
Yep, it is drew-music.com. There's a hyphen in there, drew-music.com.
Okay. And people that want to support what your efforts can go to that site.
Yep.
And they can make contributions, be sponsors. I'm talking to you, General Motors and Ford and Bank of America. And,
shoot me an email.
If
you hear a song you like and you're like, I got a project I'd like to use it for.
Right. This is for a good cause. Okay, it's to help the DPS and the Chicago educational system, community. What is that?
Chicago Public Schools.
Schools.
Yeah, they've got the Children's First Fund.
Oh, right.
For Detroit, it's the Building Arts Fund. For Chicago, it's Children's First Fund.
Okay, and
you can donate straight to those instead of me if you want to really just go donate.
There you go.
Do that.
There you go. But they can connect with those through your website.
You know what? I will put those links up there.
You
That's
need
a
to
good
do that.
idea.
You need to
Yes.
do that. You make sure that you support this brother and what he's doing because it is for a good cause and it's from the heart. So
Yes.
thanks again, Drew. Again,
Thank you,
man. I'll
Mark.
shake your
Man.
hand one more time. And
And thank
hey,
you, WJZZ.
thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV. This is Off the Cuff. I'm Mark Scott, your host, and that's my guest, Drew Schultz. And thank you for watching. And tune in next Tuesday. It's going to be my birthday. We're going to have a special day. We're going to have special people, and hopefully, I'll probably have a whole gambit of people in here. And we're going to have a good time. So you have a good night. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. We love you. Peace. I think that's it. We're all done.